Agreed.
And, that's probably why movies do mean so much to me because, I've been a movie buff since I was like a little kid. Going to the movies was like a huge deal and seeing like Ghostbusters and, E.T. and things like that on the big movie theater. And ever since then, I've just loved film, not just what I see, but the stuff behind the scenes and, how it's made and how did they get that shot and how did they do that? Or how did they get that special effect? I love learning about all of that. And I think because for me as a kid, I didn't have the best childhood, growing up. And so movies was like a way to escape and a way to kind of forget a little bit, about real life. And you could kind of put yourself there. And it was a bit of a fantasy. So maybe that's why I am drawn so much to movies and that they make me feel something, and I love that feeling. So I think that's a big part of it. And that's something that's been really helpful during this year because this year's been shit, I think, for just about everyone.
Describes it real well.
I mean, we've all been in it and everybody's going through something this year and it's hit everyone in different ways and some worse than others. But it's been pretty terrible all around, I think, it's fair to say for everyone. And, we haven't had a lot of new movies, that have come out because of what's going on. So being able to just kind of go back on some of these older movies that did bring us so much joy and, kind of give you that little bit of escape and kind of forget, at least for, a couple of hours, what's going on in the real world a little bit, So, yeah.
Love it. Totally agree.
I'm a little passionate. I'm sorry.
I know. I think we're all on the same page with it.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. I think we're all on the same page.
You need that escape. Definitely.
Yeah.
I totally agree. That's why I get so passionate and love things about like movies and TV and music and all of it. Just art and entertainment it's so good to have that escape. But also like some of it can be very emotionally like gripping and help you even like understand even like things going on in your own life, or even we kind of did that while covering this movie, is being able to, tie it into current events and things that are going on and like, getting, viewpoints and understanding about things that are going on. And you'd be able to compare things and be like, yeah, this is something that is pretty poignant in life right now. And, so
yeah,
not just in your own life, but in a lot of culture and everything, movies and entertainment have such a big place.
Absolutely. And this is why we're all friends.
Exactly.
Awesome. All right. Thank you again so much for coming on.
Yeah.
Hanging out with us.
Thank you guys.
Really appreciate it.
It's been a blast.
It's just been so much fun.
All right. And again, we are so glad that Rima was able to come on and join us for this episode. We're going to move into feedback now. We've got a little bit of feedback. Unfortunately, Rima is off back into her Strange Indeed world to do her own things. But we're again so glad that she was here with us. But me and Daphne are now going to break into some feedback, and we have quite a bit of fun feedback to cover this week, and I'm excited.
We do. We definitely do. We have a few folks wrote in, and we also have some audio feedback as well. So this is going to be great. So I feel like we could just jump in. I can go ahead and read the first one.
All right.
This is from my friend Mickey Brown, and this is his thoughts on Jaws. And he says, all things considered, probably my favorite movie. I can rewatch it endlessly. Basically perfect in every way. Robert Shaw's performance is one of the greatest in cinematic history. Maybe not a true horror movie, but still has some of the scariest and most gruesome scenes ever put on film.
Uh-huh. I totally agree.
I couldn't agree more, Mickey. I think that's pretty straight on.
Mm-hmm. And then Courtney says, finally a movie I've seen. Can't wait to listen. Which, yay, good. I'm glad that you're listening.
Yeah, Courtney is not a fan of scary movies. So I think she's looking for when we do like more of the disaster or adventure type movies. So
yeah,
I have a feeling she'll enjoy this one.
Yeah. All right. And then we do have a couple of audio feedback that I'm excited to get to and see what this is going to be this week.
You know, me too. The first one is from our friend Ben. And I'm interested in hearing what he has to say to us.
And this one's covering Halloween, right?
It is. It is.
Yes, he's going back to talk about that. Because again, we've mentioned even if you miss a deadline or something on a movie that we're covering and you do want to give us some thoughts about it or give us feedback on the podcast episode about the way we talked about a certain movie, then yeah, feel free to hit us up like Ben did here about Halloween last week.
Yes, he did. And I'm interested too to hear what he has to say. So let's just start it.
Greetings, Daphne and Pake. It's Ben Beck, your future greatest special guest host of all time. Just kidding. Wanted to leave you guys some quick feedback for one of your previous episodes, the Halloween episode. It was one you were doing as a holiday special. I can't remember exactly what holiday you guys were celebrating, but I'm pretty sure it was a holiday special. Anyway, a quick note about the future of the series that I thought would have been interesting to bring up, but, it's fine that you didn't. You mentioned how much Laurie Strode spent 40 years preparing for the events that happened in the Halloween 2018 version, preparing for her brother's escape, preparing for her, not her brother. I'm thinking another Halloween timeline, waiting for Michael to escape, waiting for Michael to come for her. She was prepared 40 years. She spent all of that time to prepare for Michael, and Michael still survives. Now, we're led to believe at the end of the movie that he's burning in the basement of that building. But one thing that you guys didn't mention when you talked about the future sequels is that a teaser trailer has indeed dropped for Halloween Kills. And in that trailer, we see the three generations of Strodes leaving the house with firefighters and fire trucks heading towards the house to fight the fire, and the girls screaming from the car, "No, don't go, let it burn." So we already know, in fact, how Michael is going to survive that. He's going to be rescued, in a sense, by firefighters that are going to put that house out. But the interesting dynamic that's going to make is it's really going to change the way the story progresses in the next two movies. In that, as you mentioned, Laurie had 40 years to prepare, and preparing didn't help. It didn't stop him. This time around, there's no preparation. She has not prepared for what's about to happen. She's going to have to act on the cusp. She's going to have to kind of act on the fly, and now she's going to become a survivor again. She's not going to become the hunter like she was in this first movie, and in the sequel rather. So she's going to have to dig deep, and she's going to have to survive. And to be completely honest with you, I don't see Laurie surviving the next two sequels. You mentioned a little bit earlier about, the granddaughter being a badass of her own and being able to really come into that later. I think that's what's going to happen. I really think in these next two movies, I think we're going to see a passing of the torch to the Strode granddaughter. And unfortunately, as much as I love Laurie Strode, I could see them killing her off. We'll see. We'll have to wait and see. Loving the podcast so far. Wanted to leave you some feedback. Expect more in the future. And I can't wait to be a guest. Talk to you guys soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. I think the teaser trailer had released after we had recorded the episode.
Yes.
But yeah, I did see that. And yeah, I'm very excited to see where this series goes with the next two movies. And you might be onto something with the unfortunate death of Laurie Strode in one of them. I wouldn't be surprised if they went that route, as sad as that would be. But, yeah. I'm interested to see.
I don't know. I stand by saying that Allison is definitely a badass, and I can see her being the one that actually puts an end to Michael Myers. But I guess we'll have to wait and see if that really happens.
Yeah. I guess we're supposed to get them the next 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
If everything goes according to plan, which... that means nothing anymore. We've learned after this year, but yeah, then we should get them like Halloween season in theaters the next 2 Halloweens, hopefully.
Yes, and you know what? We may just have to cover them just because, we do.
I think so.
We do love doing holiday specials. We have another one coming up.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that as well. I hope that you guys will love it. And yes, as Ben alluded to in his message, he will be guest hosting with us on a future episode of Run for Your Lives.
Yes. Yes.
So our final bit of audio feedback is from Steve.
We're going to dive back into Jaws.
We're going to dive back into Jaws, which is what this episode is all about. So let's hear what Steve had to say.
Show me the way to go home. I'm tired and I want to go to bed. Had a little drink about an hour ago, and it went right to my head. I'm not going to say the whole thing. I didn't have a drink a little, but probably in an hour or so I'll drink. Hey, Daphne and Rima, this is Steve. Watched Jaws the other night, and I can honestly say I don't know. I know that I've watched the whole thing, but I can't remember when's the last time I watched it all the way through. I have no clue. It could have been 20 years for all I know. I'm not really sure. So it was kind of cool to watch it and, remember some of the things that I remembered from it. And of course, all the iconic lines, you're going to need a bigger boat. And I had forgotten that Roy Scheider, says it like several times. Like, we're going to go get a bigger boat, right? Right? We're going to go get a bigger boat, aren't we? And, the other thing that got me on my memory was that I remembered that Richard Dreyfuss survived, but we didn't see him for so long after the cage gets demolished that I started questioning myself, going, does he survive, or is it just Brody that makes it out? But no, then he pops up there at the end. And anyway, can't wait to hear the podcast, and can't wait to hear what you're going to do next week. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Steve. That was awesome.
Yeah.
I love the song, breaking into song at the beginning of that one.
That was great.
I appreciate you for that a lot, Steve. It was fun.
Yeah.
Man, this was just a great episode. It really was.
It was.
I think we had so much fun. Again, so glad that Rima was able to be on here and chat with us and nerd out for a long, extended episode about Jaws, that I'm very happy because we couldn't have covered it any less time.
No, I remember telling Rima that with Jaws, you really have to give it all the time it needs. You can't cut it short. You've got to just really lay it all out there. And if it takes a half hour or 2 hours, it doesn't matter. We have to pay homage to that wonderful classic movie. And for some reason, I think that this may be our longest episode for a while, but I also think there will be others in the future that will be longer than what we are used to doing. So if the movie dictates, we're going to put it out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So thank you, listeners, for sticking with us. If you've stuck around this long on this episode, thank you. Hope you've enjoyed it. We sure did. But we are going to kind of start wrapping it up a little bit. So again, other podcasts that you can hear what's going on in the podcast universe. You can always, well, not always, but at least for a little while, hear me on Strange Indeed. We're still covering The Haunting of Bly Manor, and that is going very well. We're having a good time with that. That's been really fun to watch. And then Mark and Steve are over on Panels to Pixels. You can hear them covering The Boys Season 2, still doing that. And then Mark has his podcast, Adrenaline Cinema, where they cover all kinds of action movies and stuff that just gets your blood pumping and heart racing. And the most recent episode of that is Point Break with special guest Wendy Eppers.
Yes, we hope to have Wendy as a guest on our podcast at some point.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, as far as upcoming episodes on podcasts, Daphne, what do we have coming up next week here on Run for Your Lives?
Well, Pake, we have to go back.
We have to go back
to Jurassic Park. Different island, lots of dinosaurs. Some are the same, some are new. But we are going to visit the Lost World, Jurassic Park. It's the 1997 American science fiction adventure film and sequel to 1993's Jurassic Park, which we covered in episode 3 of this podcast.
Yes.
It was loosely based on Michael Crichton's 1995 novel, The Lost World, and it was directed by Steven Spielberg. One of the few sequels that Spielberg has done.
Yes. So that'll be fun. And we hope to hear from you guys what you think about that. So go ahead and start sending in feedback, voicemails, thoughts, comments on The Lost World, Jurassic Park. Love to hear what you think. And to do that, you can submit theories, feedback, voicemails, all of that kind of stuff. Go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/runforyourlivespodcast. You can email us at runforyourlivespodcast@gmail.com. Hit us up on Twitter at RYFL Podcast or Instagram at Run For Your Lives Podcast. And if you're enjoying the show, please tell your friends, spread the good news of Run For Your Lives, and send them to the website, which is runforyourlivespodcast.com, where you can find all of the links to all of our social media pages, all the different listening and podcast apps that you can use to listen, because we're on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, all of that. We're also on YouTube as well. Search us on there. Sometimes that's easy for people to just kind of send a little YouTube link to somebody, so share it. We'd appreciate that. And then also go to Apple Podcasts and you can rate us, give us 5 stars, make us feel worthwhile.
Share the love, folks. Yeah. Share the love. And with that, I think that's the end of our podcast. Thanks for listening, everyone. I am Daphne.
I'm Pake.
And if you have to run, you better run or swim for your lives.
Bye-bye.